All right. A timeline of Trump's missed opportunities on coronavirus. Let's see here. There's an ad.
Governor, there is an emergency room position
I see the governor of
in
New
New York
York.
City.
Okay, let's read through this. So, as the daily coronavirus outbreak rapidly spread across America in February and March, President Trump repeatedly asserted that nobody could have predicted something like this. But a review of government records showed that repeated warnings were issued to the White House and went unheeded. U.S. intelligence officials with the National Center for Medical Intelligence issued a report in late November warning that a virus was taking root in China, ABC News reported Wednesday. Analysts concluded it could be a cataclysmic event. A source inside the government told ABC, and the report was shared with the White House, the Pentagon's Joint Staff, and the Defense Intelligence Agency. It is unclear whether Trump was ever briefed on the NCMI report, but sources who spoke to ABC described multiple briefings about the report throughout December for policymakers as well as officials at the National Security Council and the White House. The first confirmed case in China of what would later be identified as COVID-19, the disease that can result from exposure to the coronavirus, was reported on December 10th. By then, U.S. intelligence officials, using intercepted computer data and satellite imagery, had already detected the impact of the virus on daily life in the city of Wuhan and the surrounding area. On December 31st, the Chinese government publicly confirmed that dozens of people in Wuhan were being treated for pneumonia-like symptoms. 3 days later, on January 3rd, Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar said he first learned of the spread of the virus in China at a White House briefing attended by Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Director Robert Redfield. Again, it is unclear whether Trump was notified at the time. So remember, this is Trump's house, right? That's like all these people coming to your house discussing something really important that can affect you, the nation, but yet you're not being told about it. But days after January 3rd briefing in the White House, uh, U.S. intelligence warnings about the threat posed by the virus began appearing in the president's daily brief. All right. So in the president's daily brief, that means he has to be briefed. If he doesn't read it, well, too bad. Whether Trump read those or discussed their contents is not known. Too bad. It's in his brief. That's like the teacher gave you homework. You say, you know what? I didn't realize you gave me this assignment, teacher. The next morning you showed up to school. You know, I didn't realize you put this assignment. You gave me this assignment. Sorry. Over the following days, the number of cases of COVID-19 rose steadily in China. On January 10th, Chinese scientists posted the DNA sequence for the disease online, and the next day announced the first death attributed to COVID-19. The United States reported its first case on January 20th, and the Chinese government implemented a lockdown of Wuhan on January 22nd. On January 24th, Trump praised China's President Xi Jinping for his response to the coronavirus outbreak. Donald Trump, a real Donald Trump. China has been working very hard to contain the coronavirus. The United States greatly appreciates their efforts and transparency. It will all work out well, in particular on behalf of the American people. I want to thank President Xi. But 5 days later, on January 29th, Trump's economic advisor, Peter Navarro, sent the first of two memos that predicted dire consequences from the virus to the United States. In the memos, whose existence was disclosed on Monday by Axios, Navarro wrote that without an aggressive containment strategy, the White House should expect COVID-19 to kill more than 500,000 Americans and cost the nation nearly $6 trillion. On January 31st, Trump issued restrictions for non-U.S. citizens traveling from China that took effect on February 3rd. The order came 10 days after the first case was reported in Washington state. Public health officials said that while it is likely bought the U.S. time to ready a plan for how to combat the inevitable spread of the virus in the U.S., it did little to prevent it, and the time was mostly wasted. Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan were not included in the ban. Now remember, banning Chinese citizens from coming here, Chinese national, but yet you have other people who are coming anywhere. People who are living in China, Americans living in China, could bring the virus. So even though Trump brags about stopping flights from China, that's not really true. That's half of the truth. He 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 stopped Chinese citizens, Chinese nationals from coming here, but people were still allowed to come out of China. So that's not true. Since December 31st, when China reported that Wuhan residents were being hospitalized due to then mysterious virus, 430,000 people arrived in the U.S. on direct flights from China, the New York Times reported, including almost 40,000 who made the trip after Trump's travel ban was promulgated. So see, he had a travel ban, but yet all these people show up. Over 430,000 people arrived in the U.S. direct flight from China. With the number of Chinese cases of COVID-19 rising into the thousands, Navarro penned a dire, a dire second memo to the White House. Navarro speaks to Trump, so it's not like okay, his message is not getting through. On February 27, in which he revised his predictions, as many as 100 million Americans could be infected with the virus, Navarro wrote, and it could end up killing as many as 2 million U.S. citizens. Okay, so here's a memo, second memo, now screaming out saying about 100 million could be infected and 2 million can die. You're going to tell me something like that wouldn't get the attention of the President of the United States? I seriously don't believe that. At Tuesday's coronavirus task force briefing at the White House, Trump offered a notable explanation for why he had not reacted more forcefully to his own advisor's warnings. I heard he wrote some memos talking about pandemic, Trump said when asked when he first learned of Navarro's warnings. I didn't see them. I didn't look for them either. Yeah, right. Sure. We're talking about calamity, about 100 million people infected, 2 million Americans might die, and you heard about it, but you didn't see it. Come on. Who is going to believe that story? It isn't known who received Navarro's report. There has been no explanation of why a memo from one of the president's top advisors predicting millions of Americans' death didn't reach his desk. or why Trump didn't request a briefing about the impending crisis. Well, this is classic cover-up. They're covering up for Trump, pretending that he didn't hear about this. You know, anybody believes that is really a moron. On January 22nd, 2 days after the first U.S. case of COVID-19 was reported, Trump was asked on CNBC whether he was worried about a possible coronavirus pandemic. Not at all, he replied. See? And we are. We have it totally under control. It's one person coming in from China, and we have it under control. It's going to be just fine. By March 17, 6 days after the World Health Organization declared the global outbreak to be a pandemic, Trump updated his own assessment. I've always known this is real. This is a pandemic, Trump told reporters at the White House. I felt it was a pandemic long before it was called a pandemic. All he had to do is look at other countries. As of Wednesday, more than 400,000 cases of COVID-19 has been confirmed in the United States, and the virus had killed more than 14,000 Americans. All right, so there's a graph here showing North America, the amount, South America, Australia, Asia, Africa, Europe. And that's the end of the article. So obviously, Trump had there's this timeline here. On the side, the timeline of Trump's missed opportunities. So Trump wants us to believe that all these people coming to the White House, you know, you have the Secretary of Health and Human Services, HHS, right? Coming to the White House. When you come to the White House, you know, at such high level, usually you have like cabinet meetings, you know. Why would you be going to the White House? You know, that's where the president's office is, where the president lives. So you go to the White House, you have something so important, and the president is not going to know about it? Really now, come on. That's not really credible. That's not credible at all.